Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Shilpa Data Insights. In this video, we are going to discuss about the except function in SQL and Pyspark in the Databricks. What exactly is the except function? Let's say you want to select some required number of columns. You can do that using except function. So let's say in a table, you have 100 columns and you just want to select only 90 columns and the rest 10 columns you don't want to select the data from it. So in that case, you have to go ahead and write all the 90 column names in order to select their data from the table. But that's not convenient, right? So in that case, we actually use the except function in which we will go ahead and get rid of the 10 columns that we no longer need in the select statement, and we will be only needing those 90 columns. So this is a very much used case in the day-to-day activity of data engineering. So it also helps you in writing a neat code and also help you understanding how exactly to select a required number of columns, reducing the complexity of the code. So here, let's say I will be first creating a data. For that, I will be going ahead and importing some functions from the Pyspark module. And I will be creating a data frame first, that is from the data, a sample data set that I have set. And the data frame I will be creating named as df. So if you will see here, I have used the Spark in which I have used the create data frame and I have given all my data that is listed here. There are 4 columns into it and the column names of it. And then I will be printing the schema of it and showing the data. So if you don't know any of these functionalities, let's say you don't know what is this create data frame, how to create the data frame, how to actually visualize the schema, or how to actually display your data, then you can watch my previous videos. I will mention each and every video link in the description and in the I button as well, so you can watch them. Now I have my data frame ready in which I have my first name, middle name, last name and my date of birth. Now I will first go ahead and show you how to do it in a SQL way, and in the next way I will go ahead and show you how to do it in the Pyspark way. So in the SQL way, first of all, I have to create a table. I'm not creating a table basically, but I'm creating a view here, which is named as employee. So if you want to know what is create or replace temp view, you can search it in Google, or if you want, I will go ahead and create another video on how to actually create or replace temp view or what exactly this means. Now I have created a table called employee. Now if you want to select all the data from this employee table, how you can do it? It's simple SQL statement. So that is using select and then star. Star means all the columns from the employee table, you will be selecting all the data from those columns. Now star means all the columns. So if I run this query, you see there are 4 columns that I had it in my data frame. So all those 4 columns data, it is going to display you and selecting the data. Now, if I want, let's say, few columns out of this data frame, think like this is a very huge data frame or a very huge table which has, let's say, 50 columns. How you want to go ahead and select few columns. So you need to go ahead and mention each and every column name in order to select it. How you can do it? It's simple. Let's say in this particular table, I don't want my middle name and last name. I just need my first name and date of birth from the employee. If I query this, you see the first name and date of birth is there. So in this way, instead of star, which means to select all the columns, you can mention the respective column names that you want to go ahead and get the data from the table. So this is for selecting required columns. Now, how you can go ahead and select these 2 columns and remove the rest of the columns while selecting the data. So for that, use the except function. So let's say I don't want my middle name and last name. What I will do is I will do a select star. What does select star means? It means to go ahead and get all the columns. Okay, but I don't want two columns out of this data frame that we had. What are those two columns? That is my middle name and last name. I don't want the data of it. I just want first name and last name. So what I will do is I'll go ahead and remove middle name and last name from my select query. How you can do it? Put an except condition here and put the middle name and the last name inside the parenthesis. And you don't need a comma after star. Keep that in mind. If you put a comma after star, that is a syntax error. So you are selecting all the columns and except these two columns. So that's how you read this particular syntax of the select except function. Now if I run this, you will only see two columns, that is my first name and date of birth, and I'm not selecting these two columns. Now let's say I have one more data frame which is called location, and I'm creating a data frame called df location out of it. Why I'm doing this is because I want to show you whether you can utilize the same thing while joining two tables. Okay, so this is my second data frame called df location. Now in df location I have three columns called first name, city and age, and I will be creating a table from that called location. Now once I create this temp view, I will be joining this location with my employee table that I had. So how you can do is, it is simple. Select all the columns. I want to select all the columns. Let's say I want to select only the employee table, and I will be joining the location table on what condition? On my first name. So my key column here is my first name, on the basis of which I want to join these two tables, that is location and employee. Once I join it, it will show me all the columns that are present in my employee and the location table. So now you see in my employee table, I had this first name, middle name, last name and date of birth. Till date of birth is my first table. Then I have my second table called location. In the location, I had first name, city and age. So these two tables are joined on the basis of what? These two are joined on the basis of first name. So if you will see Harry and Harry is joined, James and James, John, John, Juliet, Juliet, Robert, Robert. And this is an inner join that it did. Okay. Now, after you have selected all the columns, let's say you don't want all the columns, right? And you think of as if it's a very large table with 50 columns, how exactly you want to select only few columns and reject few columns from that table, and you don't want to display those columns, basically not reject, but don't want to display those columns. Now for that, I will be joining, as I said, in the from condition. What you do is, first of all, you join your employee table with your location table. I have given an alias E just to simplify the process, and the location L. Now I will be selecting all my data from my employee table. So I've done E, which is my alias, dot star. But from the employee table, I don't want date of birth and middle name. So for that, I have written that inside the except condition. Similarly, from the location table, I want all the columns, but I don't want my first name from my location table. So I have given it inside the except clause. And on the basis of what I am joining, that is again my first name and last name. So what it will do is, it will remove this date of birth from this particular table, and it will remove the middle name from here, and from the location, which is this particular table, it will remove the first name. So how exactly the data will look like? It will look like first name, then you have the last name, because date of birth and middle name you have removed, and from the location table also you have removed first name, so only we are left with city and age. So this is how exactly you can remove some columns and select the required columns that is needed after the joining condition. Now how you can perform this same activity in Pyspark. In SQL, if you are aware of SQL, this might have been simpler. But if you are new to Pyspark and you are learning Pyspark, you need to know how to do it in Pyspark, right? So how exactly you can do it in Pyspark? It's again simple. You cannot use the except condition in Pyspark because it's a SQL query in which you can do it. For that, there's an alternative way to do it. So I will show you that alternative way as well. So how it is? So this is what. First of all, I will go ahead and select all my columns that is in data frame. So what does it mean? It means I will go ahead and select all the columns in the data frame using df.columns. I will iterate the df.columns and I will get each column name in the list. So if you see the square bracket, it's a list comprehension in which I'm doing it. Now, I will be only selecting the columns which are not in middle name and last name. So I don't want to select middle name and last name. So I'm putting it an if condition inside the list comprehension stating that if the column is not in this and this column name, then only select those columns. And after that, I have done a df.select. So from this list comprehension, I'm just selecting those data that are coming from this particular list comprehension. So let me just divide this and show you what will be the result of the list comprehension first. Okay. So I have done the print statement and I'm iterating it through the df.columns. If you let's say print df.columns, what it will show? It will show you all the column names inside the list. Okay. So you can iterate these column names from the list and get just the first name and your date of birth, because I don't want the middle name and last name. So for that, I have done iterating it through the complete column list and I've mentioned an if condition. If it's not present in the middle name and last name, then go ahead and print this first name and date of birth. Now, I will go ahead and select those data. df.select means what? It will select the data which are present inside these columns. That is my first name and date of birth. And dot display means it's a functionality of Databricks in which if you do dot display, it will show you in a tabular format, which is a readable format. If you do a dot show, it's going to just do a row format and it will show you the data. So if I do a dot display and select the data, it is showing me only the first name and my date of birth. So this is how you can use an except function in the Pyspark. It's not the except syntax directly, but it's a alternative way around if you want to just remove few columns and get all the other selected data from all other columns, right? So I hope you have understood how to use an except function while selecting the data, and while if you have two data frames and you have joined those two tables, how you can go ahead and use the except function, and how you can go ahead and use the except function inside your Pyspark. I hope you have liked this video. If you have liked, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends so that everyone can go ahead and get benefit out of this video. Thank you so much for watching and I wish you have a good day.